Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of the MangaReloaded podcast. This is Matt, and I have Sean with me. Also, go ahead, Sean.
I was just saying hello.
I also have two other people with us today, Blake and Jordan. Go ahead and say hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi, guys. At the same time, please.
Alright, yep, so there's four of us now, so we've got our whole boy band together. Gonna be rivaling NSYNC anytime soon in a theaters near you.
How about One Direction? We should be rivaling One Direction.
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Well, One Direction just lost their fifth member.
No, don't leave us.
Alright, no, we're literally... Okay, really, we're gonna be talking about Naruto Part 3, which is probably gonna be The Legend of Burrito. Or maybe his name's Bolt. Or maybe it's Burrito. I don't know.
Maybe it's Naruto Jr. That's who it really is.
No, don't mess with me like that.
No.
Maybe Minato. I can't believe his name's not Minato, but maybe that's just me.
Well, we don't even know what they're going to translate his name into in English, like, for real, because we only have scanlations right now, so we don't know what, like, his official name will be by Viz, but it's going to be something along those lines, probably.
Yeah.
I would personally like it if they went with Bolt, because...
I think it's going to be Bolt, because Thunder God and all that jazz.
That's actually a very valid point.
So, guys, what are your general thoughts on the fact we're going to have a part 3?
Why isn't Sasuke dead yet?
Actually, I should probably tell everyone. There's only one of us that's actually scanlated the entire Naruto manga and knows every single thing that happened. That's Jordan.
Hello.
But,
yeah, I followed it for quite some time. I was a big fan of the original series. I kind of fell off on Shippuden, though. I really wasn't too impressed with it. I thought he did a lot of good things, like the Akatsuki arc was probably my favorite part about that. That was the only one I really, really liked from Shippuden. Mainly because there's just a lot of character development in that one. I feel like it kind of trailed off.
The Akatsuki is Naruto Shippuden, though. That's like every arc.
Not really, if you think about it, not really. Because, after all of them, have their respective deaths, it shifts over to, sure, it's still run by Obito, spoiler alert, as the leader of the Akatsuki, air quotes. It kind of transitions more towards Madara, Orochimaru's lackey, and Obito. Versus
Hey, Kabuto is amazing. Do not diss Kabuto.
Nah.
No respect. The only thing I hate about Kabuto is how he lost. It was so cheap. He was too good to lose that way. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but of course, Sharingan magic trumps all.
We'll have to save that for another time. But what do you guys think about the fact we do have a definite part 3 that's going to be based on Chapter 700 coming out?
I'm not too thrilled, to be honest. I kind of think it should die. That's just me. But, I mean, it was also the first of the big 3 to come to a definitive end, so yeah. I guess he's got to write more now to keep up with One Piece.
It isn't him. The thing is, oh, yeah. I wish I knew where I saw this, but there was an interview with, a Shonen Jump editor, I think so, and, the only part of the interview I really saw was they were talking about, changing their approach to manga, in a way. They were going to start doing kind of what American comics do, where you have alternate universes, maybe.
Reboots?
Oh, dear God.
Or just having different writers and different artists working on continuations of the story, just like American comics do.
Sounds awful.
And it's kind of in an experimental stage, and the first one they're planning to do that with is Naruto, which is hence why we're getting this part 3, is because the Shonen Jump wants to see if this is a good business model for them to explore or not.
But it's still the original writer, correct?
Right, and it's not like this
Supervising.
Oh.
Yeah, he's not writing it anymore. He's going to be
that
it's
already...
It's like Kazuki Takahashi, I think that's the author's name, of Yu-Gi-Oh! He just kind of supervises the other ones, and work. Like, yeah, that's okay. Go ahead and do that.
Oh, that's not the same. I don't know. A lot of series lose me when you get to the weird sides, like that weird like chibi Rock Lee thing they're doing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, that's the anime.
I know, but still.
Is there a manga for that? I don't know.
I think there is. No, there's definitely a manga for that. Right. I'm 100% sure.
This isn't the first time Shonen Jump has done like a spin-off, but it's never been a continuation, as far as I know, by a different author.
Right.
At least not for something this big.
I mean, like, how many different side stories are there for Attack on Titan?
Well, that's not Shonen Jump.
I know. It's still a notable series, though.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I see what you're saying.
I know
Attack on
nothing
Titan's
about
a whole
any
other
of them.
can of worms, man.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Naruto.
Yeah, so we have this kind of Marvel effect in the beginnings here, because the author's letting Naruto go, but basically no one else, as far as like the Shonen Jump staff and editors and head chief, really want to let it go, because it's a really good...
It's money.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I respect that, but what I hope doesn't happen is the Dragon Ball syndrome. Okay, it's like, sure... Okay, when Naruto first came out, you had this unique world and whatnot with how, all these different characters. And it's cool that, now, because those characters we grew up with through the first original part and Shippuden of the anime, now they're kind of meshing and they're having kids of their own. Okay, on paper...
Are we having GT?
That's really cool. It's like, okay, that's cool. It could be good. Let's not go overboard with it, yeah? Okay, yeah, Naruto and Hinata are finally together. Sasuke's got his thing going on, and the Ino Shikacho is like, this is really interesting, One point I want to touch on is Choji has a kid with someone who's not of the Leaf Village. Like, that's, throughout the whole series, to my knowledge, that has never happened. Like, people in their villages marry in their villages.
Shikamaru did.
And that's another point. It's like Shikamaru and Tamari. That's another couple. They're not marrying in their village.
But you could predict that.
Well, that one was kind of set.
But the world the world's pretty much very well united by the end here. Yeah. Well, even if they're different nations, they're pretty much meeting together at very friendly terms.
And that's where my main concern with the part 3 is.
So
me and you have talked about this before.
May I ask for some clarification? Are you worried about this problem of the next generation, or are you talking about like? What my worry is no longer like, involved. Because when you say DBZ syndrome, I'm wondering if you're talking about the shift from Gohan to Goku as the main character, or are you referencing GT? That's no longer the same author.
I guess what I mean by GT syndrome is like, when Dragon Ball ended, I felt clarity with it. I was fine with, with the original author saying, hey, I'm done. Okay? That's what I'm worried about with Naruto. Kishimoto's done. He wants to be done. Okay, but, as you said, everybody else wants it to keep going. Naruto is not finished, so I feel like it's okay to, put Naruto on the back pedal and have someone else be the main character. My worry is what me and Sean and you talked about last night. What is there to really drive a plot forward now? Like, Madara's gone, Kyuga's gone. Okay, we could pull the Sasuke turns evil again, but, there's so many times you could beat a dead horse until it's dead. Like, let's not go into that anymore. The Uchiha aren't evil anymore. All the evil ones are kind of dead.
The Uchiha are dead.
So,
that's part of Sasuke. Oh, sorry.
Ooh, I can't. What if Salad gets her Sharingan and then goes crazy and kills everyone?
Salad.
It's a lot.
It might be
Go ahead,
Sarada.
Matt.
Well, first of all, her name might actually turn out to be like Sarada, because the L and R's in Japanese are weird. I wouldn't be surprised if they do everything they can when they get it into like Viz English to not make it Salad, because that's a dumb name in English.
Oh, but Bolt's okay. That started with a dog, mind you.
Well, okay, I believe Sean was the one that said it, because I was on your boat. I was like, that's a dumb name for a kid. And then the Flying Thunder God technique is what Minato used. That was you? Yeah, it makes sense now that I think about it like that.
Like, I think that's his tribute to his dad, since obviously you didn't name him Minato, but it still has the thunder steam, which kind of just goes with her hair to begin with. So yeah, I think that's where it's coming from.
Hey, Sean, try not to move around so much, please.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, can we discuss the children right now? Because like I'm looking at Sai Jr. and it's just kind of creeping me out.
How she acquired the paste white skin somehow.
Yeah.
That's a guy.
Yeah, I think that's a boy.
That's a guy, Jordan.
I'm pretty sure that's a boy.
I hope it is, now that I look at it.
Yeah.
I can never tell.
It's literally Sai with Ino's hair. Oh wait, never mind. I was gonna say, how did that happen?
I mean, it's gonna be tough to judge an entire cast off one chapter, especially because we don't have a ton with all of them. It's not like Naruto Chapter 1, where it focused so much on our primary character that we got a good feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, looking at their living situation and their conditions, I don't think it's going to be as engaging as the beginning of Naruto Part 1. Because let's compare Bolt to his own dad for just a moment.
He's Konohamaru.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Because Naruto didn't have parents, and the first chapter, I think, is one of the best first chapters in all of Shonen Jump. It's really engaging. You've got this me versus the world thing, while Bolt kind of just seems like a spoiled brat for no good reason, really. Like, oh, my dad won't play with me, so I'm gonna do exactly what he did in Part 1. Like, it just felt kind of artificial to me.
Right. I mean, I definitely see where it's coming from, though. Like, it gives the topic of, well, he's Hokage now, so he has no time for his child, which was, I mean, it's not even the same issue that Konohamaru had, because it was his grandfather, and then dad was just a jonin. Did we ever, or wait, no, I'm sorry, we never meet Konohamaru's parents, I got mixed up. No, but like, I just feel the attitude is a little unwarranted. I mean, you still have Hinata, plus he has a sister. I mean,
who actually even referenced wanting to hang out with her brother.
Exactly. So I definitely agree with the kind of spoiled brat thing. It's very unwarranted.
Right, like, okay, if every single, how many ninja kids' parents don't have time for them?
I have
Usually,
a theory.
If half of them started vandalizing shit, then Konoha would, like, literally there would be people whose entire job it would be to clean up the graffiti everywhere.
I have a theory about this. What if Naruto is just a bad dad? Aside from the neglect of his job, what if he's just a bad dad because he was never raised by one? I know that sounds, crazy.
You could argue he would try really hard to be a good dad because he knows what it's like to not have a dad.
Yeah.
But
don't forget, though, we've got Hinata. Are you going to say Hinata vicariously is a bad mom, too?
No,
so he has no good parent figures?
No, I didn't say he didn't have any, but I don't know, the way he just comes to his son when he graffitied and just,
bad.
Screams at him and punches him in the head. I know that's an anime gag thing, but I just couldn't help but feel that it's a very aggressive approach and it's not very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, though. Naruto also has a stressful job being Hokage, even if, now he has to, eat ramen in his own office instead of
Gosh dang it. Can't go to Ichiraku anymore.
Again, I don't know if it's as stressful as it could be since the world's at peace.
Oh my god, I just thought of an awful plot point that might have happened. What if Ichiraku is dead?
Oh, let's not even.
We don't speak of this.
No more ramen.
We don't speak of this.
That's why Naruto is so pissy now. I'm just kidding.
Exactly. He hasn't had his fix in so long.
But I guess to further argue against your point, though, Sean, this is just me personally because I was very I liked Hinata's character and whatnot. Would she really let Naruto get away with being a bad dad?
Yes.
Let's be brutally honest here.
Yes.
I don't think she would.
I think she'd be his whipping slave.
Oh no, I don't think so at all.
Okay, maybe he's not.
Go ahead.
Maybe he's not like. I don't mean like he's awful. I don't think he's like constantly hitting his kid, but at the same time, I don't think he has the ability to connect to a kid as well. I wouldn't think so. But then again, maybe he would.
Let's talk about the world now and the state of it in general, okay? Because the beginning of Naruto, the original, we have a world that's clearly divided. We've got 5 nations all opposing each other for power. So there's this, and then all of these other smaller villages too.
But that's hardly even there. Sorry, go on. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's
in the original or this one.
Well, that's hardly even there. The fact that they're in conflict hardly even comes up, even in the tuning exam.
Because like in the chapter 700, I mean, it starts with a Gokage summit, or that's the whole theme of the episode.
Okay, so do you think that in the world that Bolt lives in, what kind of missions would there be?
To go rescue cats out of trees.
Filler episodes.
Fillers. Weird random side villages that no one knew existed attacking.
And, I think that's going to be the challenge for this new series because, like, as Blake said, the very overall theme of this is the Gokage Summit, right? And it's instead of being held in the Land of Iron, as I believe it was called, where the samurai live, it's literally in the Leaf Village. There's this whole sense of unity. Everybody's united now, right?
Exactly, because before they went to the Land of Samurai because that was neutral ground. If war was declared, they wouldn't have free entrance to one village and just start attacking. They had to be on neutral ground before.
I mean, something else I find interesting is like looking at all the current Kage. They were all essentially people who, I won't say they all worked directly together in the war, but they were all like, bar maybe Kuretsuchi, they were all notable characters in the war. And I think she only got that because she's the ex Tsuchi Kage's granddaughter. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because her father was the one who was the head of the division that she was in.
He was one of the generals.
Which is weird that it didn't go to him. And
it's weird. No, I find it weird that Chojuro became Mizukage and not Ao.
Ao was older, though.
He was.
But at the same time, these people are really young for politicians. Really young.
This is very true.
Like,
You're had notable experiences, Gara.
Like, honestly, that's one thing that bothers me is, like, I think most of the Kage should have been around Tsunade's age or older by standard, like 40 and up.
Well, I feel like this is just kind of a toss to how all of them were talking about we need a new generation to lead us. Well, all of them are the new generation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would argue that the oldest one here is Darui. And because he was he was Raikage's right hand.
Yeah, he had definitely been in the position for he had definitely been in politics longer than any of them, would be the more accurate thing to say, I think.
He was either like 18, 19, or early 20s, easily.
Mm-hmm. Everyone else was...
Maybe even 25, I don't know. I don't know what was, but...
You know who I would like to be the main character of a part 3? Did I already say this?
No.
Not live.
Recording.
Okay. Yeah, I think Asuma's son should be the main character of the part 3, instead of like Naruto Jr.
One thing.
Just grabbing someone out of this selection of new people from the little bit of time we get with each one. I'm just like, he's the one I think would have the most potential for intrigue, actually.
Well, one thing to keep in mind is that this is not going to be like weekly. As far as I know, it's going to be monthly, and it's going to be held in like one of their spin-off magazines. It's not going to be in main Shonen Jump, as far as I know. Now, it could be, but if that were the case, I think it would cause a lot of problems, because that's where a lot of new properties try to emerge from, new franchises.
I'd like to point out something really interesting going back to what are their missions going to be. You see a page that is 1010 in her ninja tool shop, and she's like, nothing selling at all. Also, a funny little blurb I noticed is that 3 of the 6 Sage tools are for sale in her shop. That's a little sketchy, just saying. But, like, that's just your sign that, like, no wars or anything are going on right now because she can't sell weapons.
Yeah, exactly. So if they're going to run a part 3, there has to be conflict. We need a world that generates conflict.
And I think that's going to be a big challenge.
The first part was a world that generated a lot of conflict. Like, the Mist Village was a mess completely. The Sand Village was completely, like, the rule over that was usurped, and there was political imbalance there at one time. I mean, we don't really know anything about the Rock Village, even after the war. We really don't. But
I mean, there's still a lot of little villages that we really know nothing about. So I wouldn't put it past. Hell, the samurai might revolt for all we know. I mean, I don't see their who was the leader of the samurai during the war? I can't remember his name.
Oh shoot, I can't remember his name either.
Well, yeah,
Mifune.
Yeah, that's it.
I feel like with him as their leader, at least, since his whole shtick was peace, I feel like nothing would happen, but, like, we don't know who took over after him. There were no other notable samurai, so it could be something like that, like the samurai revolting, because they have been, like, in the shadows for so long, or some shiznit like that.
There would have to be a lot more samurai then to actually be able to oppose all the ninjas.
I don't know. We don't really know what the samurai are capable of is the thing. I mean, the only time I feel like we really see them in action are when, let's see, they're being, like, slaughtered like lambs. Yeah, and then in the fight against Danzo.
Yeah, but even in the terms of, like, inner village rebellions, things will be different now, because if you guys do remember, the one thing the Rock Village did do was in a flashback, and that was they tried to kidnap, I think, one of the Hyuga kids. I think it was Hinata, when she was really, really young, because they were trying to get that jutsu. Mm-hmm. Like, they had invaded the Leaf Village and did that. Now, if, like, an underground group in the Rock Village tried to do that, they'd be like, hey, Grandpa, Odoki, go fix the problem.
Yeah, it's like you're living in this generation where not only do you have the potential for really powerful children, but they're adults. Their parents are now in their primes, if you think about it. Like, they're all extremely powerful. It's going to take...
They're all at Jonin rank right now. They're the equivalent to what Kakashi and Guy and Asuma were.
Yeah, and, like, the thought wouldn't creep on my mind that they could even be better. And it's like, it's going to take something really earth-shattering to break the unity of the new world. That, you know, that they spent the better part of 100 chapters trying to create.
Well, and what really bothers me is the potential of, well, maybe they're going to expand the map, right? You've got the Konoha, well, not just Konoha, but the world map of Naruto.
The Fire Nation. No, not Fire Nation.
The Fire Nation.
No, it's something fire, right? Yeah.
Well, there's Konoha, which is Konoha is the land of fire, but there's a world map that has all of the villages and all the small ones encompassed in it. Mm-hmm. But beyond that map that's been drawn, we don't know what's there, except when asked, Kishimoto has said two contradictory things. One thing he said, like, really early on was that, oh, the world is just normal past there. But we don't really know what that means. But I guess not magic ninja, so that's, I guess, another way of saying it doesn't matter what's beyond the map. But then something else he said is, oh, well, that's where all the big animals live, which kind of implies all of the humans live in already explored area, right?
Okay.
Right.
So there isn't really even the potential to explore, to expand the map, like have another nation attack this area or something.
I think one most threatening nation throughout the entire series that gets very little bit, but has caused a lot of havoc is the Rain Village.
Right, but that's why they put what's her name back into, like, that's why they made her the new Kage. Was
the Mist.
Put a woman. Yeah,
that's
the Mist.
Not the Rain Village. The Rain.
Talking about
right. You're right.
Correct.
You're right.
Yeah. Hanzo, and that's where like Obora was from, and characters like that. It's the one that all wore the gas masks.
Mm-hmm. Was it the rain or was it water? No, it was rain. It was rain. It wasn't a waterfall.
I had made a mistake. He's right. I was thinking the Mist Village.
Mm-hmm. But
that's crazy. They've got this big city, and then once their real political leader is gone, nothing happened to them. We don't know. Like, you would think they'd be involved in this war somehow, right?
I mean, that's where
that bothered, their absence bothered me.
Pain was ruling over the Rain Village. We just don't know what happened to it after Pain was removed.
Yes, because that was the Akatsuki headquarters, was it not?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was his goal, because he kept saying he wanted to make the Rain Village stop crying. Mm-hmm. And obviously he never achieved that goal, so we don't know what happened there. That could be something.
Right, well, it seems like Kishimoto made this metropolis, this big city, without really thinking about populating it, because it seems barren for the most part.
Without rain and without pain.
Yeah, but you got super, super tall towers, so like, got this huge metropolis with a seemingly low population, and like it almost feels like it was just there like that for aesthetic purposes, if nothing else. So who knows how big that Mist Village really was?
You mean Rain Village?
Rain. That's what I meant. I meant Rain. I don't know why I keep doing that.
Because they're both water.
I think it's easy to mix up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the world. We've talked about. I don't think we've touched enough on like the kids, because like there's a point, and maybe it's just me, but like. Every time I look at, and I'm going to throw air quotes over this one, Sasuke and Sakura's kid, me personally, I don't think that it's Sakura's daughter.
No.
I am more than sold with the glasses that he had a thing with Karin, and somehow it ended up with Sakura.
I mean, she could have needed glasses because she read too much as a kid or something. I mean, we don't know for sure, but it does seem very indicative of Karin, let alone with the hairstyle. Even the eyes are kind of indicative of Karin. I mean, the pupils, that's Sasuke, but the eye shape, like, Kishimoto has, like, what a lot of people call the almond-style eyeballs, but there is variance there, and it doesn't look like... It doesn't have the shape of Sakura, that's for sure, and it's not quite Sasuke either. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I'm sitting here editing the video, and a thought comes to my mind to research this a little further. And what I come to find when I look around the internet is a lot of people did their homework better than all four of us on the podcast. So we're going to talk about this Salad, Sarada, whatever her name is, thing a little bit longer, and then I'll resume the podcast. So if one thing's clear, the only thing that is less debatable than her name, or no, actually more debatable than her name, would be who her actual mother is. Now, it strongly seems to be Sakura if you just look at the verbal connotations, the way she just calls her mom very easily. It doesn't really seem like there's any distance in the family dynamic or any kind of schism. So if she is adopted, she may not be aware of it. And honestly, there is a good chance it could just be the people who really wanted Sasuke and Karin to get together thinking that. I personally think, though, there actually is kind of a genius to the way Sarada was designed that actually made it open for debate. So we look at this first picture here. right? And I don't take credit for any of this. None of these pictures and this research was done by me. Other people out on the internet went and took all these comparisons, and I'm just sharing them with you. So we look at this first picture, and this is Karin, and we see the general shape of her eyes and the gap between her eyes and her eyebrows. Eyes are fairly round, and her eyebrows are fairly close to her eyes. Now, this next picture we look at, it is a comparison of Sakura's eyes to her daughter's. And you'll notice Salad's eyes are actually, like, the frame of them are actually closer to Sakura's than Karin's by the general outline shape. The sharper edges and just the wideness of it are actually a lot more like Sakura's. But in my defense, the one picture I was referencing when I was talking was one of them here. So if you look here, here's a bunch of comparisons where she looks a lot more like Karin because she's squinting her eyes or making her eyes more narrow. And you can even find some times when Karin's eyes are drawn when she's looking out a little bit wider that come to those sharp edges too. And even if you look at the pupils are very close to what Karin's would be in relation to the white versus the white space and the black space within the eyeball itself and within the frame. So, it's kind of debatable. Most of the time, her eyes take the shape of Sakura's, though. So I was wrong about that. And yet, and also, here on this other picture I've got here, I've got a comparison of the chin, where Karin has a sharper chin, and even her chin is more like Sakura's. Now, in defense, most kids tend to have rounder faces than adults, so she could easily grow up to have that prominent chin. So, chin, I don't know. But then we look at this next picture, and we get eyebrow, and if you look, the gap between the eyeball and the eyebrow, and then the top of the eyebrow to the top of the forehead, is very much like Sakura's. Once again, she actually has a lot more things that are indicative of Sakura than are apparent at first, at least to Jordan and I. Now, I think a lot of people do get caught up in the glasses, right? Because Karin had glasses and Sarada had glasses, has glasses. So, but who knows why she has glasses? And there's even this kind of fun thing that people are doing online now where they'll like recolor the character to look a little bit more like Sakura or a little more like Karin. And I think the results are kind of interesting because if you do either, I mean, obviously, yeah, if you change the features to look more like a certain character, then they will look more like a certain character. But if you just change the eyes and the hair color, she could look like any of their kids. But you know who she really looks the most like? She really looks like Sasuke. In fact, if I had to give her a ratio, I would say she's like 70% Sasuke, and then probably 15% Karin and 15% Sakura, or even maybe 20% Sakura, 10% Karin. I'm having a hard time figuring out quite what the ratio is, but I think that Kishimoto purposely designed her this way to make it open for debate, and I don't think anybody's an idiot for thinking one way or the other. And yeah, it's caused a lot of debate online, and I do think that it's an interesting way to get the community talking between the gap between the publication of Chapter 700 and whatever future things come out. So, thank you for dealing with the interruption, and have fun with the rest of the podcast.
And I just, like, with the whole Sasuke leaving the village thing, it kind of does, in my opinion, it kind of destroys what their final fight tried to put together. Oh, they make up. Oh, they're tolerable of each other again. And, Sasuke wants this whole revolution thing. Well, he's got a chance, he has the chance to start the Uchiha over again, right? But then he just leaves the village? Like, that doesn't make much sense to me. Is it like, does he think that everyone's not going to forgive him? With the amount of world peace that's there, I certainly think he could have stayed in the village. Like, there was no reason for him to become this lone drifter, in my opinion.
Oh, Kenshin. Oh, Kenshin Uchiha.
Roroni Sasuke.
Oh, boy. I don't know.
Sean, you had an interesting theory about that, didn't you?
Well, I had the theory that maybe Sasuke was going around the world impregnating women so that he could, get enough Uchiha out in the world. Probably gather them when, the time is right. I don't know. Probably come to Salad one day. I'm your daddy. Let's go.
I'm your daddy. Let's go.
I'm your daddy. Oh, my.
Oh, that's weird.
I think that's actually very plausible, though. Like, that he would feel a need to have all these kids. It'd be kind of an adult story, but for him to have all of these kids to get enough Uchiha out there in the world to get the genes back into the gene pool.
Yeah.
And one daughter just isn't enough.
It makes sense. It's just like the way you say it is kind of like it's kind of one of those eyebrow raises things. Like that's weird.
Speaking of eyebrows, Lee's son though, I find it creepy just how much they all look like Guy, even though there's no relation.
For real.
Like I don't know. I just feel like afterwards it's just going to be a generic repeat of I feel like that whole line is just a generic repeat of the exact same character over and over and over again.
And that's what I'm afraid of a part 3 being, is a repeat of so many things over again. That's why I'm saying Asuma's son should be the next main character, because I don't want the adventures of Naruto Jr. Because as far as I'm seeing in this chapter, we're just going to get Naruto, but brattier. I mean, this beginning just tells me that. Doesn't tell me there's anything different, really.
Right.
It tells me, oh, their kids are just like they were when they were their age.
Yep.
Okay, that's good and all, but that doesn't mean anything. That's why this Asuma's kid could be very different. But, I mean, we don't get that much of him here at all, so just handpicking from the assortment of characters, though, yeah.
I think we should make it clear right now that at the time we're recording this, there's not really much known about what Naruto Part 3 manga is actually going to be. We're just running on the assumption it's going to be about Bolt, but it's probably going to be about Bolt.
Yeah, probably.
And who knows what's going to come out by the time I actually get this posted.
Currently, in the English, we have up to volume 69. Again, I'm not fully caught up, like, as far as scanlations go and things like that. Was it done in the manga story that Kakashi became Hokage?
Yes. So,
that actually happened?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was... I'll try not to, spoil too much, but there's the fight between...
Go ahead and spoil, because this topic, it's basically... You can't really you can't really discuss this without spoiling things. That's just it.
Okay. So in the fight between Obito and Kakashi, right, where they're pulled into I call it the Sharingan world. Yeah. They have their whole field there. and the fight is drug out from that world into the regular one, right? But like in between it, there's this weird transition where like Obito goes from good to bad to good, right?
Yeah.
Because Naruto talks to him and Kakashi and them have their little argument. And before he finally dies, you know, to the hands of, I'm trying to solidly remember, I believe it's Kaguya, because they're fighting in Kaguya's little weird dimension, and Obito does something to buy them time. But he turns to Naruto, and he's like, I told you to become the Hokage, but I want you to become the 8th. I want Hokage to be the 7th. Or Kakashi to be the 7th. Because they had a spiel before they go and actually fight Kaguya and try and take her out.
So does Danzo get counted as the 6th?
Maybe. Yeah.
I believe
because our 5th is Tsunade, then we had Danzo, then we had Kakashi, and
his head's not on Mount Ninja Rushmore though. Is it?
Okay, so Kakashi would have been the 6th then. I apologize.
Yeah.
He would have told Kakashi to be the 6th and Naruto to be the 7th. That was my fault. I apologize.
Naruto's number is 7 because he had Team 7, Chapter 700 is the final part. Like 7 is a continuous number.
That's a really good thing to point out, actually.
In the Naruto franchise, so he is the 7th Hokage.
Mm-hmm.
I
wonder,
really didn't
do we know what the time gap is? Like what the time frame is? How many years are in there?
The actual time jump. I don't know.
Roughly, like, I think...
I put it as like 10, 15.
Yeah, it's like 10. You're right.
Because he was about 17 at the time the war... 17, 18, when the war finally concluded.
I mean, no matter what, him and Hinata had kids at a young age, but all of these people did.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is just kind of one of those worlds where that's necessary, because who knows when you're going to die. Now, I mean, not in this time skip world, that doesn't seem like it's as much of a problem, but just in general, like, obviously we saw what happened to Asuma.
Right, but Asuma was like a full-grown adult when he had his first kid.
I don't know. I feel like this world just wants you to believe that people are older than they actually are. I feel like, I don't know how old Asuma really was. Like, maybe it's just like because we're looking at it through a child's eyes, maybe everyone's not really as old as we think they are. But I don't know.
You're getting into some perception thing there. But, yeah, I don't know. I just think one of the big hurdles they're going to have in terms of writing is creating scenarios in this world that are challenging. And honestly, I don't think any of these characters are going to be quite as interesting as their
parental counterparts.
Yeah, as their parental counterparts. There's only maybe 2 I was like, you know what, I'd like to see more of them. And that was Asuma's son and Choji's daughter. I like Choji's daughter because she has such sass. Like, yeah, I'm fat. Deal with it.
For real, though.
And I think there is something interesting there.
I just like to point out one last thing.
But Asuma's son is a clean slate. We have nothing about him, really. He's got, like...
He was raised by Kurenai and Shikamaru.
Yeah. So he's pretty much a clean slate as far as first impressions go.
I'd just like to point out one thing, because I feel like this is about to wrap up. We never in the entire series see Shino's eyes. I'm looking at this picture of him, and he's just so creepy. Like, because it shows him as an instructor, and it's just weird.
That's one of the few people we actually don't get to see with, like, kids. Like, him and Kiba, there's no reference to them of having any kids.
I'm so sad. I was so sad to see Akamaru.
Yeah, Akamaru old now. He's not even, like, his mom's dog was old, too, but, like, Akamaru did not age well.
No.
It's just kind of sad how old is Kiba became. Go ahead.
I'm wondering if, like, how, like, in that clan, is he just gonna get a new dog? Is he like, okay, Akamaru's dead. Next. Or is he gonna, like, I feel like the bond that they have is something that has to be built through their entire life, but obviously the dog doesn't live as long as the human does, so it's, like, really sad. By the way, is it ever once in the entire series mentioned how Kakashi can summon dogs?
It's just named as his summoning jutsu.
He probably just went to the Kiba's clan and said, "Hey, teach me this." I think. Well, his dad knew it, right? His dad was the White Fang, and was part of the they were both part of the Anbu Black Ops.
Mm-hmm.
And dogs are really useful for tracking people down off of what little scent you might be able to pick up. So I think it was just because he was in the Anbu Black Ops, he learned how to do that.
Fair enough. So what other points did you want to hit, or did you have any others?
Well, we've pretty much covered most of them, but I do kind of want to cover more about what you guys might think, what kind of creative drag this would put on the industry as a whole. Even if it's not in main Shonen Jump, it's kind of ironic to me that Naruto is a series about stepping, these characters, one theme is about stepping down and letting the next generation move forward.
Mm-hmm.
But by continuing its own existence, it's actually... Sean, quit moving around.
What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
Stop it, now!
Stop sawing logs!
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry. It's hard to keep this thing up.
Okay.
That's what he said.
Yeah, anyway. By its continual existence, it's actually having the reverse effect. It's making it harder for new people to come into the industry because people only have so much money and time to invest in anything. And that means since people will be continue to spend money on the Naruto franchise, that's less time and money they can invest in other things. Right. So to me, that's kind of ironic, and I wonder, if that's how it is now, what about One Piece when it comes to an end? Are they going to try to keep rebooting it too?
Well, see, the only thing about One Piece is that...
Sean, you move around one more time, I'm running into your room and kicking your
I'd like to remind you all that the MangaReloaded podcast is for friendly ears only. Any cuss words are not responsible by those heard by it.
I'd just like to say that, in One Piece, though, I mean, I know we're going to talk about this in a bit, but, in One Piece, the world is just big enough and has that huge of a cast that I don't see, Luffy uniting every single pirate. I don't see that being a thing. So, that's one of those series, could literally continually go on, forever. Because we don't know what's out there. The entire series is essentially about exploration. So, even just in where I am now, even just prior to Dressrosa, he skipped so many islands. We don't know what are on those islands.
Right.
There's an entire sky world and an underwater world as well. It can really go a lot of places.
But this idea of creative drag is that it makes it harder for newer people to enter the industry.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because it's because I don't want to say it in the wrong way, but they're not willing to let this series actually end. You have to. It's what about those people who have their own ideas and want to do their own things, but have
Screw
to sit
them. They're not writing Naruto.
X amount of years and X amount of hours to make this Naruto spin-off work? It's you're kind of taking, as you said, Matt, those people, and it's oh, well, you want to do this, but you need to invest your time in this, and then your time will come. It's okay, good, but are you going to make them waste their time? It's just going to work because, as we've discussed, the world in Naruto now seems way too peaceful, and it's going to take a really creative and viable, earth-shattering result to kind of give it that intensity of the feel that, Naruto originally brought. Because when Naruto first came, as you said, it was clearly divided, there was clearly conflict, and there was a lot to be had there. Well, if you're going to bring these people in, are you going to waste their time with trying to make something that, we don't know. It could not work. It could actually not, people could not want to watch it and whatnot. Maybe some people are actually ready to let Naruto go because they feel like, okay, X amount of things have happened, and, I'm sure a lot of people finally got the ending that they wanted, Naruto became Hokage, everything, the world's kind of reset.
Oh my god, Sean, take off the blankets!
Of, what Hashirama and what Naruto, and, what those groups, the Hashirama, the Naruto, the Jiraiya, the Pain, their visions have all come through. The Child of Prophecy thing, it happened. That whole thing finally happened. And that was kind of like a hidden driving point behind this series, in my opinion, First, people thought it was Minato, then, Jiraiya thought it was Minato, then he thought it was Pain, or Nagato, as you'd call it, then he's like, oh, it's finally Naruto. Well, our 3 parts are kind of done. Like, that thing is finished now, so do you want to actually waste... I don't want to say waste, you actually want to use more to try and undo that, and what the series was trying to make.
There's
Grand
2
Elder
questions.
Toad might have a new prediction.
There's 2 questions we have to ask, okay? Is the Naruto world worth exploring more, or is it worth exploring in a different way? Because, there's also the potential for a Naruto spin-off manga that takes place in an alternate timeline.
What would happen if Madara had won and everyone was stuck in the infinite Tsukuyomi?
Well, my question
That'd be interesting. Actually, this ending makes it feel like they're stuck in the infinite Tsukuyomi.
We don't know.
Actually, we do know, moderate,
I know.
Well,
I
what
mean,
if they didn't beat Madara? What if
that's
he put
a good
them under
point.
that? What if he put them under that infinite loop thing we saw Kabuto get put under, and then after they're in that infinite loop, because that fight goes on forever, and then he just makes them think they won through illusion, and now they're living in the illusion world where they won.
And, I would believe that as a viable option if I believed there was not already a movie that did that. Like, there was a Naruto movie, I believe, that did that, where it's like, hey, what if Madara actually won? Because it was where, I think it's the movie where he meets his dad and they do, like, the tag team father-son Rasengan.
Well, in that movie, it's a prototype, what's that jutsu called? Tsukuyomi. Mm-hmm. It's a prototype infinite Tsukuyomi that he only captures Naruto and Sakura in.
Okay.
And it doesn't work exactly the same as it's supposed to.
Alright, okay.
But then again, I don't view the movies as canon anyways, but whatever.
Right, but like, for example, what if somebody writing... Because Kishimoto changed as he was writing Naruto, okay? The first part is much darker.
Oh, yes,
and
definitely.
He definitely shows signs of wanting to write a mature story. For example, when Kakashi is training them with the bell exercise,
that's
at
very
one
dark.
point... At one point, he points to his to that memorial, and he's like, "Do you see that?" And Naruto's like, "Yeah, what is it?" "That's a list of the greatest shinobi that's ever served this village. I want to be on that list someday." And then Kakashi explains to him, "No, these are all the ninja that have died while in service." Oh. And that was a moment of Naruto's illusion, or idealized version of being this heroic ninja who just kicks ass. Kind of defeated because there's a good chance you're going to die if you're not careful.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is we get Naruto the hero, the chosen one, which is totally against what Part 1 set up. So what if somebody reinterpreted Naruto in a way more along the lines of what Part 1 was setting up, where we don't have this child of destiny, where Naruto is still fighting against a society that doesn't appreciate him, where the universe doesn't bend itself in Naruto's advantage, where he's still the underdog continuously throughout his entire life, where there is no prophecy by the Toad.
Oh.
You know, reimaginings like that are vastly different are also a possibility for Naruto. But right now, we're getting a sequel about his son, the Burrito.
The Burrito. So
Burrito
I gotta
Jr.
ask then, would you rather see would you rather see it go back to that darker, would we want Naruto, the original saga 1.5? Or would we want the adventures of Bolt? Like, those are, and I kind of agree with you, and I think it might be better to go back and reimagine, because it's like, as Sean alluded to, right now we just kind of feel like we're gonna get Naruboto. Like, it's just Bolt.
We're gonna get filler episodes.
I wouldn't mind seeing what people could take their creative spin on a darker Naruto, rather than a Adventures episode saga. But I could be wrong, it could not be that. It's just, that's what I think.
And that seems to be what that interview with that Shonen Jump employee was hinting at. That if they go with their plan to be more American-ish, and that's a very strong ish with their approach to the manga, and the Marvel type effect, or DC, where you've got alternate universes and different canons to follow, which also is a good way to divide your fan base, because what would happen is you have Naruto loyalists who would completely argue that no matter what, Kishimoto's original vision from 1 to, was it 72? That's going to be the final volume?
Yeah.
72, 73, whatever it's going to be. They would say that those are basically the only Naruto worth investing in, and that the rest is, garbage or whatever.
It would create what you think would be do you feel like that would be a much needed diversity then, or is it just something they can do to make more money?
Well, it's definitely something they could do to make more money. No matter what they do, they're gonna make a little bit more money. But how much more money?
Not necessarily.
And how much more of my money they get depends on what they choose to do.
Naruto, like Dragon Ball, could live on through its video games.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Dragon Ball Z has lived on far longer than when it ended. It ended in 95?
Yeah, it was.
So I was 2 years old when that ended in Japan.
And look how many new games they're still making. One every year.
And look at the new movie.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
Look at Super Saiyan God.
It's probably going to live on through new movies and video games, if nothing else. That's for sure. The franchise isn't completely dead.
Well, do you think we've missed anything, or is that kind of what we wanted to touch upon, or is there something that we've missed?
Well, looking through chapter 700, it seems like we talked about almost all the characters that we were interested in talking about. I don't know. We want to discuss 1010 more. She was such a fascinating and deep character.
Oh, great character development.
What
great
about
participation in the story?
I think the only thing we didn't touch on was when we got to see all the old Hokage meet up.
Oh, right.
For Tsunade's drinking party.
And of course, we've got, elderly Guy and Guy and Kakashi in the retirement home.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Tsuchikage is 5,000 years old and can't move anymore. And of course, Tsunade still looks 20.
He's literally like, nobody blow on me, I'll turn into dust. Old.
Yeah, he I believe his one of his few lines was, "I can't move much." To me, that signals how long has he been in the Leaf Village? Because they're in the Leaf Village meeting there.
Well, somebody wheelchaired him over.
I'm not sure they are, because they had to meet him. I'm not sure though. The X5.
It
feel
seems
like they're in the
heavily
Leaf
implied
Village.
they're in the Leaf Village, especially because the last shot is an outward.
Well, no, but we
camera
don't know where the
pan
five Kage are meeting, or the 4 Kage are meeting up. We don't know where they're meeting. We just know that everything else is in Leaf Village. It's actually, they're in a whole rock building.
Take a look.
So-
Take a look for a second.
I'm looking at it right now.
I've got it on this one, and it cuts over
That
some
looks
guy
a
in
lot
Kakashi.
like Tsunade's office.
Yeah.
That looks a lot.
Tsunade doesn't have an office. She's not the Hokage.
Okay, that
probably
looks a
still
lot
has an
like
office.
the Hokage office to me. I don't know. I've spent a lot of time watching anime, reading the manga. That looks a lot like it to me.
But
That
what's
looks like
that
the
symbol
Leaf Village
for?
in the
Wait.
window.
They
Which
have a
room?
symbol right after Guy's last line. They have a symbol that shows up. What's that symbol for?
Which room? The Kage office or the retired Kage
The
room?
retired Kage home with the weird water
Oh.
tank.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one that
water
the
tanks,
actual
okay.
Kage are in looks like the lookout tower to me.
Well, okay, you mentioned the water tank. Water tanks are very indicative of the Leaf Village, because if you ever notice, all of the plumbing seems to be right outside of the buildings as opposed to underground and underneath.
It's not plumbing. There's nothing to do with plumbing with that thing. That's one of those water tanks that you fill up and set on top, and then you just hit the tap and it fills your little cup with water. There's no plumbing involved with that.
I'm trying to get to the page.
It's it's 11 for me, so it might be either 9 or 13 for you.
All right, hold on.
But yeah, there's like a symbol right after Guy's last line showing what building they're actually in. I just don't know what that symbol's for. And then the next page they swap back, or they head over to, the island where, no, because Naruto is definitely in his
that
office.
symbol.
It shows,
That's sand. That's sand, I think.
You might be right. That's either sand or rock. They might have actually had to go.
I'm pretty sure
because
they
he
had
says
to
we
go-
can't do a proper ex-Gokage meeting. So to me, I feel like after reading that and thinking about it, maybe they were supposed to meet in the same village as the current Gokage.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
I feel like
you're right. You're
this
right.
is just me though, but like one thing that does bug me about this whole chapter is if you go like all the way, I think it's the exact last page, and Kurama is just there. Like I don't. So personally, to me, I don't know exactly what that means. It's like,
yeah.
because like the whole thing was if the Kyuubi or Kurama was ever taken out of Naruto, he was supposed to die, right?
Right.
And yet,
That's like the most inconsistent part of Naruto.
and that's
ever.
what bothers me so much about that particular panel. Is just he's there.
He's just there. Yeah, whatever.
Like,
Well,
They
that
figured out a way.
and as you pointed out beforehand, the One Piece sign.
yeah, well, okay, so that's a whole other can of worms.
No, like he graffitied One Piece because in that magazine, Oda also drew the Konoha leaf symbol on his chapter title card for One Piece for that volume. Well, actually, that's a funny story, actually, and that's kind of related. I'm going to say it here because there's nowhere else to talk about it. But Oda got pissed at that volume of Shonen Jump with the last chapter of Naruto in it.
Really?
Did anyone hear this?
No, I wasn't aware of this.
I know.
Yeah. Oda, the author of One Piece, was furious because the cover for the issue of Shonen Jump with the last chapter of Naruto in it didn't have Naruto on the cover. It had a new manga that was like, or maybe like, no, it wasn't even new manga. It had Koro Sensei from that thing with the teeth.
Assassination Classroom.
Yeah, it had him on the cover.
Yeah.
So Oda got really pissy with the Shonen Jump editors and gave him a call, trying to defend Kishimoto, saying you can't just let him out without
Paying homage.
paying homage
For
to
real,
him.
though.
He's put 15 plus years of dedication to your magazine. You owe him more than that.
Oh yeah, I had no
he-
idea that was actually that Naruto wasn't the cover for that magazine.
Nope, it wasn't. And it was kind of funny because, in an interview as well, Oda had said something about it, and that, like, he was like, yeah, that's typical Shonen Jump. It kind of makes me laugh, because what are they going to do for him talking bad about them? Fire him?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, fire the guy.
Fire One Piece. Yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea.
The guy who's literally pretty much the front runner in the magazine, especially now because his closest competition in terms of action shonen is gone.
Yeah.
Oh, there's still Bleach.
Yeah, no.
Let's save that topic for later, because I got a lot to say about that.
Bleach is big in the States, and it's pretty big in Japan, but its sales have been going downhill for a while.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
I think it's by units of 10,000 every year for the past few years. But yeah. Okay, so I think this episode is over. You guys have any final thoughts?
Go Salad.
I really hope that if they're gonna, if they want to dedicate to doing a part 3, that they actually try. Like, I'm gonna be looking at this with interest because, I don't know about you guys, but Naruto, it's very near and dear, especially the first part, so I actually care about the direction this goes. So, I hope they just don't view it as fluff. If they're gonna go with it, at least, try and make it interesting. That's my big thing. I want this to be interesting. I don't want Naruto 1.5 or 2.5. I want something, as hard as it seems like with how we've talked, I want it to be worthwhile.
Blake, any final thoughts?
I want it to be over.
And you know what? I find myself partially in agreement with that.
I'd rather just let it go as well. I mean, a lot of great series can end and just be over. I mean, these series I'm going to name are a bit shorter, quite a bit shorter, but Yu Yu Hakusho and Rurouni Kenshin have pretty much left without a word, maybe a celebration video that's released every once in a while or something, but nothing. Yeah, but nothing, but it doesn't stretch. Those series didn't stretch themselves out too much. Now, yeah, you can argue Naruto, it's like 700 chapters, so yeah, it did kind of stretch itself out, but does it need to stretch itself out anymore? The story. Does this... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think if Shonen Jump is going to go the way... I mean, this isn't Shonen Jump main, this is another Shueisha magazine, but we're talking an ex-Shonen Jump property here still.
Yeah.
I think if they're going to go the way of alternative Naruto manga, they need to take bigger risks than Naruto Jr.
I agree. I agree with that.
And unlike their Yu-Gi-Oh! Spin-offs that they've been doing regularly, which take place in alternate universes, and actually even more so than I ever realized before, apparently. But unlike them, where that's pretty much there to push the trading card game, this is just because they're afraid to let a franchise go. So they need to basically prove to me it's worth holding on to.
And I 100% agree with you. Like, if you're gonna do it, make it worth my time. Otherwise, like Blake and Sean said, just let it end.
All right, well, with that, I think...
Let it go.
No! This is a Frozen episode.
Hey, man, I could do that.
No.
Okay, with that, I think we're done. This is the Manga Reloaded podcast, signing out.
Bye-bye.
See you around.